Vietnam is finally at peace. After decades of colonization and conflict, Vietnam's 75 million people are now striving to achieve the great promise of their country. It's a time to rebuild. But the benefits of peace and prosperity have yet to reach everyone. For some, life is still a great struggle. Vietnam is home to 53 ethnic minorities who have remained isolated through the centuries from mainstream Vietnamese society. The sad legacy of war and poverty still lingers here. In 1992, the Canadian Cooperative Association began work in Vietnam as part of a project funded by CIDA, the Canadian International Development Agency. The goal is to establish and support model cooperatives run by some of the country's ethnic peoples. These first pilot projects have flourished. They're a beginning and models for rural development elsewhere in the country. Like many developing nations, Vietnam is a study in contrasts. A country of Eastern traditions embracing Western tastes. A nation rushing to take its place as another of the Asian economic tigers with bustling modern cities. But 80% of its people live in rural areas, and scratching a living from the land is still a great effort. After the long war between the North and South ended in 1975, Vietnam turned its back to the world. But in 1988, the country adopted the concept of Doi Moi, a market economy which encouraged private enterprise and international trade. It was a radical change for a nation based on state-run enterprises and collectives. However, many poor farmers lack the money, the tools, and the technology to make the transition to the new economy.
Collectives were government institutions set up by the government of Vietnam before Doi Moi to get things done in the rural area. But when the country moved into privatization, that is moving into the reconstruction of the economy, when farmers were given land to produce and government help to the farmers slowly decrease because of the policy. So when they began to do things on their own without the help of the government, they need economic institutions like cooperative.
CCA's partner in Vietnam is the Center of Agricultural Extension Volunteers, or CAEV, an organization of scientists, university professors, and researchers. They're working with farmers to improve yields using new technologies and farming techniques, to raise family incomes, and to organize cooperatives run by farmers themselves. The center's work is focused on helping the country's poorest farmers, the members of ethnic minorities, like the Rock Lay people of the Central Highlands. Throughout their history, these people have farmed the shallow soils of the remote mountain regions of Vietnam. They practice shifting cultivation, slashing and burning the forest to clear land for crops until the soil can yield no more. This practice and the long years of war have devastated Vietnam's forests.
We have in Vietnam now, you know, that the problem of shifting cultivation, but they never get enough food to eat because the yield of the crop in the sloping land is very, very low. You know, they trying to cut down the forest as much as possible. So, if they cannot continue to cultivate in the old land, they move. They cut down the forest in other tracts. Then move, the forest was destroyed and destroyed and destroyed.
We didn't have enough food to eat, and we had no services like health care or education. But now we see the cooperative and the community, and we want to live here. We hope others will follow and settle here, and help us increase our food production, have their children go to school, and have access to health services.
Cooperatives are one way of meeting both the social needs of people while preserving the environment.
In these areas, I'm told that there are 200 or 300 families are now staying in the forest, so they will come. So if we succeed to do this, like this model, we save the life, the culture of the people already. But at the same time, we saved our forest.
Vietnam's water resources are also critical to the country's poorest farmers. In the north and central regions, there is often a shortage of water to irrigate crops. And in the years when the monsoon rains don't come, there is severe drought and crop failure. With the help of CCA and the Center of Agricultural Extension volunteers, several cooperatives have built dams and irrigation systems to provide water to their fields and communities year-round. The access to water has meant farmers can harvest 2 to 3 rice crops each year instead of 1 or none at all. In the Mekong Delta, in the south, there's lots of water, but it's seawater that never completely drains away, leaving the soil too salty for the proper cultivation of rice. Problems that have brought more hardship upon the Khmer people who farm this low-lying delta. It's hard to imagine a people who have endured more suffering than the Khmer. During the war years, their farms were a battleground. 6,000 families lost sons and daughters fighting for one side or another. After the war, starvation stalked this land. But the Khmer people shared a deep yearning for something better. And their co-op was one of the first model cooperatives to be established by the CCA and the Center of Agricultural Extension volunteers.
I remember before 1993 and the start of our cooperative. At this time of the year, most of our people were working in other places because there wasn't enough work here. If they stayed, there wasn't enough to eat, so they had to find work elsewhere. And there wasn't any fresh water. But if you come here now, you can see that all the people are able to stay and are happily working the soil together. They have enough work and enough food and enough fresh water for domestic use. We surveyed over 3,000 households in our village. Now there are only 56 that are poor.
One of the first tasks of the co-op was to introduce a way to provide the villagers with enough food for their families. The center introduced a program called VAC, a system where each family maintains a small garden, animals, and a fish pond. It's simple, and it works. Surplus food is sold in markets, bringing in extra money to families whose average income is only about $160 per year. Next, the co-op members built 12 kilometers of canals to drain the seawater from their land and to bring fresh water in. With more land in production and training in the use of new rice varieties, fertilizers, and pesticides, Khmer farmers have dramatically increased their crop yields and family incomes.
So they have food to eat. First of all, they can feed their children, their wives, and with extra income, they are saving the money in the cooperative. The women have formed small saving groups, and they have saved money for helping one another. And the children are going to school with clothes now, and with clean water, having improved sanitation. So all these factors are getting the community to move from one stage to another. And it has become a model for neighboring communities to learn from Bausan and replicate this model to other communities nearby.
Others have matched this success. Lien Son, a village in the northern mountains near Hanoi, is home to the Muong people and another of the model cooperatives. Here too, the VAC system of gardens, raising animals, and fish ponds has eliminated hunger. A dam and irrigation ditches have increased rice yields and farm incomes, achievements that have come despite the initial distrust of villagers about joining another co-op. They thought the new co-op would be like the state-run collectives they were forced to join in the past.
The most difficult thing that we faced here was that farmers didn't want to join the cooperative. They felt it was going to be just like the old collectives. So I had to explain to them many times about the way the new co-op would be different.
But quite the difference is now they have the new cooperative, the one of their own, voluntary to join, or the cooperative openly for every people who want to join voluntarily, and democratic to manage.
Women are the mainstay of rural farm families in Vietnam. As well as looking after their children and homes, their labor is required in the fields. At the Phuc Tang Cooperative in northern Vietnam, a daycare center and school mean that these women are able to help with the harvest of tea. The money they save is pooled together in a loan fund at the co-op.
Besides forming a nursery for the children, women from the co-op can obtain loans so they can invest in their families. They can buy new rice seed, pesticides, and fertilizers, and start raising animals.
Women are also responsible for looking after the family finances.
Normally, all the family money is managed by the women, so we have to arrange for everything: the money for education, clothing, food, the keeping of the animals. And we have to look after not only paying out money for things, but also saving money. We have to make sure there is a profit.
Since the villagers started their co-op, there is a profit, and the issues which concern women are receiving attention. Women now have a vote and a greater voice in their communities. The future of the co-ops will depend upon the commitment of their youngest members. Each model co-op has a youth program to create jobs so young people can stay in their communities, doing some of the tasks that are just too hard for many of the older members.
So we join hands with them to help the youth, the young people in other villages, in other places nearby, to develop their own organization also, not only the young people in the cooperative. So I quite believe that the young generation will do their work better than our generation.
There are now 5 model cooperatives operating under the CCA-CAEV project in Vietnam. They're driven by the commitment of 2,000 farmers who have witnessed the many benefits of their new co-ops, benefits they can see in their fields, among their families, and on the faces of their neighbors. They've been so successful, they've influenced new laws governing cooperatives in Vietnam. The demand to join these co-ops and to start others has overwhelmed these first small cooperatives. Everyone wants help with their harvest.
CCA would the first come to help us. We do realize your achievement and experiences on, this is 140 years of histories of Canadian cooperative. So I believe that in the history of rural developments and cooperative developments in Vietnam, never people forget the worthy contribution of CCA.